Hey everybody, welcome to the Stay Home Comic Con. Shout out to Stay Home Comic Con for having us Comic Crusaders on board. I'm your host, Al Mega, and today we're hanging out to talk about breaking into comics with a rising star in comics, a good friend of Comic Crusaders. I mean, multi-talented man over here, the one and only Ian Chase Nichols. How are you, bro?
Hey, I'm doing great, Al. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on and talking about comics and breaking into the industry. Because when we met, I've seen you doing local shows at the table, and I've seen your rise, which I've been very proud and honored to actually see. Your growth, and you've along supported us, and you've seen us grow as well. So now let's share this love, with our brethren over here in Europe. Shout out to everybody. Thanks for watching, and yeah, Ian. So, as an artist, let's just get right into the conversation because we only have like 30 minutes. And then, folks, he's also going to start drawing some pretty cool stuff. But just before, even switch that camera, as an artist, what are, great steps to begin to start breaking into comics,
I mean, to be honest, I can't speak for everyone because if you hear if you hear from different artists, they all found different ways to get in. But I'll talk about some of the commonalities that really work for everyone. And it really starts with just learning how to draw and learning how to draw properly and learning anatomy, design, composition, storytelling, and really just starting out and really just drawing a ton of drawings. Like you draw I forget the number it was or how many hours it is of doing it badly before you start getting good, but there's a saying that is involved with that. And it's really true. I mean, I look back at my drawings when I first started and they were just god awful. Like they were full of heart. Like they were done as the best I could at that time. And I really tried to push that along and keep that momentum going and just getting slowly, incrementally better. And then when I had opportunities to put my work in front of other people, I took those opportunities. And, here in the United States, we don't just have the big shows. We have local shows. There are small conventions that are really just like, almost like we have flea markets or swap meets around here where people get together. They have a love of comics and different dealers have comics, they have toys, they have movies. And it's really just like a smaller version of what you see at those big conventions. And it's a great place for young artists to really get their feet wet, really be like, hey, that's where we met. We met at a little show in Attleboro, Massachusetts, which is a tiny town, and it's not any place that has, attractions or a giant, population, but they had a great little comic show, and it was a place where people went, and tables were inexpensive for artists to set up there, and I met other artists there. They sometimes had artists that had worked on Marvel and DC stuff there, and that's when you start meeting more people and networking, and that's where, I mean, you don't even think of it as networking at the time. You're just meeting people who like the same stuff as you and want to do the same type of stuff, and all the while just taking steps to learn how to draw, looking at things other than comics for drawing, taking life drawing classes, drawing things you see, and really just trying to always get better because there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to apply. Even the best artists on the planet try mixing it up. I mean, look at the different ways. Like even an artist like Jim Lee, like out of nowhere, he was doing watercolors. He just started doing different stuff, and he's been doing. Mike Mignola has been doing these beautiful, soft pencil drawings lately and raising a ton of money for that food bank lately. I mean, these guys have been drawing for decades, and they're still trying new stuff all the time.
So you really push that agenda of trying to be open to the world, if you will, of all.
Absolutely.
In order to create your craft better. Awesome. Yeah. And what about when it comes to creating a portfolio, if you will, and a presentation there, when you want to bring it to someone, what's a good setup, at least in your experience, to, in a good presentation?
Sure. When you're starting out, it's tough to tell. Like it's really fun to draw like covers and pinups and these great big images of characters. But in comics, like a bulk of the work is done on the interior, and it's storytelling, it's panel to panel work. I mean, graphic storytelling and sequential narrative is a book by Will Eisner that I recommend to everyone. And it is basically, once you have figured out how to draw comics the Marvel way, which is a great book, like first book, the next one is graphic storytelling and sequential narrative. And putting together your portfolio should be something that you spend your time on, but also be conscious of the time you spend on it, because these books that are put out even today are all on deadlines. So, and most of the time they're done on like a page a day pace. So try to do a page in one day, and that's the first thing. Like if you have a friend that's a writer, you can do it from someone else's script. You can do it with, you can collaborate on your portfolio and really figure out, you know, what you like to do, especially when you're first starting out, and put together samples of, you know, 3 to 5 story pages. And you can show them, if you think you're a penciler, show them the pencils. If you think you're going to be an inker, do inks. But it's really tough, and it's a mistake that I made, was I was just showing finished pages. I was penciling, inking, coloring, lettering, and like trying to show the whole package. Gotcha. Wherein a lot of mainstream comics, they're not always looking for, you know, someone who can do it all. They need someone who can letter a book over a weekend, or color a book over, you know, 3 days, or, you know, fill in some inking pages, or start doing a backup story with pencils. And it's very tough for even experienced editors to look at a finished comic book and be able to pick out all your strengths and weaknesses. Gotcha. Be as straightforward as possible and try to communicate things on a basic level that are very understanding, and showing pencils. And if you want to be the person like the auteur, the artiste that does everything, you want to be able to show each step. So if you do a pencil page and then you ink it, make sure you take a copy of the pencils or you scan it so that you can show, like, here's what it looks like pencil and here's what it looks like inked. And you know, an editor might say, well, I don't really like how he inks, but I do like how he did the layouts here. So maybe we could have him do layouts for somebody else. And it's just a way to get your foot in the door. And
a nice slick way to do it.
Yes, and as you establish yourself, you can, you know, branch out. You know, different artists that I've heard, like I heard a great story from Kelly Jones, the phenomenal Batman artist.
Wow, yeah, I love his Batman.
He did an interview on YouTube, and he said, like, at one point he wanted to branch out from doing, you know, just the traditional Marvel style that he'd been doing early on, and he did some experimental stuff. And you saw that was before he did Batman, and then he did more and more. And he's not the only artist that I've heard say that, where like you got to meet people, you've got to prove that you can do the work, and then you get more opportunities.
Gosh, so you know, work on that craft, make those connections, but just keep working overall.
Always be turning out pages, just. And you know, there's good days and bad days. Yesterday, I had a bad day where I couldn't like finish drawings. I was looking at everything, and then you see someone else draw something amazing. And you're like, why is my stuff terrible? And their stuff great. But today I got up, I went for my run, and I got to work, and I'm drawing better today. And you know, I'll finish some work, and hopefully it's good.
You know what? So you know, let's continue our chat. But since you're talking about drawing better today, you know, let's take a look at what you're drawing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let me switch over the camera and we'll get to work.
And over here, Allison McGlone says, "Morning, Ian. Glad to see you."
Hey, Allison. Friend of mine.
Shout out. Thank you for watching. So awesome. So you go to the cam on the general and switch that cam. Boom. Oh man, look at that.
Yeah, this was one I started yesterday where, you know, I was just working on a sketch cover, and rather than starting from blank paper, I'll start inking so you can actually see something.
Nice.
And this is The Tick, and it's a book that I've worked on for a few years now. And he's a big, for people that haven't read The Tick, he's a big, bombastic comedy superhero character that has elements of satire. It's meant to be very funny, and you know, he's looking to serve up some homemade justice on this one.
Spoon, bro.
Yeah.
This character is funny. I've always admired this character, and you definitely do bring your own flavor, which I love. And you know, let's talk about that. How did this opportunity? You know, was it through the steps that you've mentioned in order to you know get with the NEC and the opportunity to do Tick?
Absolutely. And this was one where I actually, while I was in college, I did some sample pages and sent them to them, and they flat out rejected them originally. And,
they actually said just no.
Yeah. Oh,
wow.
And looking back on them, those pages were bad, and they were right at the time. You know, I wasn't ready to do the work, and you know, I've been a customer at NEC, because for people that don't know, they don't just publish The Tick; they're a set of retail stores.
Yeah.
So I was just always around. You know, I was friends with people, became friends with people that work there, and I still am to this day. And one day there was just a need. You know, they had an opening. The writer Jeff McClellan, I met him at a free comic book day before I'd ever done any Ninja Turtles or GI Joe or anything like that. And he said, "Hey, if a chance ever comes up, do you want to do something?" And I said, "Oh, I would love to, because I
Nice.
love the Tick. When I was a kid, I got the comics for Christmas one year. I watched the cartoon,
Who
and
didn't watch that cartoon? And if you haven't, shame on you.
yeah, it's a great show because it's kind of weird. It's funny, and there was a backup story for Free Comic Book Day issue, and they needed it quick. They needed it, over a weekend, and I got it done. I got it sent to him, and Jeff, made it work. He got it. He got it to the editors. They eventually put it in the book, and that led to other opportunities. And it wasn't always drawing. Sometimes it was doing like cleanup work on old art. Sometimes because they print a lot of trades and reprint a lot of old stuff. And some of that stuff was printed before things were digitally scanned.
Gotcha.
So just being able to do the other jobs needed to publish a comic book helped me get more work. So just being versatile.
Nice. Basically, don't say no to the opportunities. Go for it. You know what I mean? Right?
Seriously.
Be bold, man.
Got to take that risk, put yourself out there, and honestly, like I've been working, deadlines, because I was working for a print shop, I think, at the time. And so I was doing print production and graphic design and all sorts of other stuff. And, I didn't get to do comics full time until fairly recently. So it's been a long process.
It's a journey. Absolutely. It takes a while because, you're not only doing the Tick. I mean, you've done turtle stuff as well, cover, right?
I've done a few covers for the Turtles.
It's pretty cool. How did that opportunity come in with IDW? The awesome publisher, I love a lot of their content, and they got these turtles, and you did an awesome job with the work you did. I mean, how did you land that up?
Well, and that was, I'm sure most people know about variant covers, but not everybody knows how they, always pick the artists. Like sometimes they have like covers already finished, and, the person sponsoring that variant cover gets to just pick from a few. But other times they can say, hey, we want this artist to, get a shot at drawing, the cover because they're a guest at our show, or we want to be able to sell more at the con. And that was how I got my first cover, was actually for Rhode Island Comic Con a number of years ago, was for TMNT Animated Adventures #4.
Nice.
And because I'd never worked for IDW, Bobby Curnow, who's now the editor-in-chief, was just the line editor at the time. I had to do a series of test drawings. I had to do
a series.
Yeah, I did one drawing where it was just like they said, draw any turtle, draw them, however you want. And I drew them looking like the turtles from the 80s, because those were the ones that I grew up with.
Gotcha.
And they said, no, you have to draw it on model. And, they didn't tell me what series it was for. So, because I didn't know it was for the cartoon one. And they sent me a giant style guide that was like 80 pages.
My God.
Said, we need you to draw this style. And so what I did was I have vivid memories of all of these, because, it was always, for me, it seemed like a rush job, and there was always somebody's birthday. It was 4th of July, I believe. And I was at a barbecue, and I was still like having to work on these samples while at this barbecue. So like I went to a barbecue with a wife's friend of mine's house. And about halfway through, I was like, okay, I got to go back to work. And I brought my stuff with me and just found a table in a corner.
Really?
Went back to work.
See, that's serious. See, that's a serious person, folks, right here. You hear that? Can't even enjoy a burger in peace. He got to get his work done.
The one that sticks out the most is the 51 cover. That was the first appearance of Jenica.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, it's hot right now too in the market, folks. If you're a comic book fan, especially your cover.
Yeah, and I actually have a handful on my website. But the story behind it is that my wife and I rarely go on any sort of vacation. And in this case, I was told like 2 days before I went on vacation, hey, you got a shot to do another cover. And then I still needed to get it done in like 4 days or something. And of course, that was the 4 days of the vacation that my wife and I were going to go on.
Oh my! Why are you always stuck in these situations?
And what ended up happening was my wife was like, well, I don't want it to ruin, the vacation. I said, I will do whatever it takes to not ruin the vacation. So what I did was I got up at like 4:30 in the morning and was working, like sitting on the floor in the bathroom with the door shut and working on it until she got up. and then we would do some vacation stuff, and then at night I would work on it again. And I did that for like until it had to go in.
Wow. That's dedication. You know, and that's a great spouse to work with you.
I'm very lucky that she puts up with all of this.
See, I think that's another key as well to the success. Have a very supportive spouse.
Absolutely.
Oh man. So, you know, what else can you advise our young brethren out there, and brothers and sisters, if you will, about trying to break into comics? You know, besides just the work ethic, a good presentation. I mean, is there any other tips you could give our good friends out there?
Well, one of the beautiful things that has happened, is that with technology and social media, there are so many really nice professionals out there that are willing to look at your work. I mean, I'm not saying just unsolicited send your stuff to people, but you can become friendly with people that are experienced in the industry. And if an opportunity arises where someone's willing to give you a serious critique, and what I mean by serious critique is that they're not going to just tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what you need to work on.
Yes.
And if they're willing to do that, it's invaluable. I've had professionals that I grew up enjoying their work look at my stuff and just tear it apart, and it's exactly what it needed. And I've learned a ton just from again, this is just the beauty of the networking stuff. And if you get your stuff out there, like there's so many digital platforms to just make your comics and put them out there, whether it's webtoons or there's just a million. You could even just post it on your social media pages if you wanted to, just to get something out there, because for a while during this whole thing, there were no comics getting distributed. So like the only new comics were coming out online. That was an audience that is right there, and people love comics. People have their routines of Wednesdays where it's new comic day. I need some new comics to read.
DC took full advantage of that opportunity because they're mostly digi right now. And Allison says, I have been ripped apart by many, including Ian.
I never ripped her stuff apart. But she absolutely goes a long way. She absolutely is a person who has just continued to get better with her work. And she has a couple of comics she's put out, and it's very, very cool.
Excellent. Yeah, just continue working hard. I mean, I may not be an artist, but Comic Crusaders is an art form. I'm gonna share. So, it's building and staying on top of it and working hard and persevering. And somebody says no, it's okay.
Well, you guys put tons and tons of hours that nobody sees with all of the editing and you don't just get to just interview people and then boom, it's done. You have editing for all your comic reviews.
Yeah, the pods and everything. But it's fun. I do it for the love. Oh man, his face coming out so great, dude. That's such a great job, man. I mean, what would you say as an artist is possibly one of the most difficult features on a character to draw? Or at least what was your most difficult part to get a good grasp on?
I mean, it's got so many different nuances to it. I mean, for me, I would say the hardest thing that I've had is a combination of, I would say, feet and then turning the figure, twisting the figure, because the shoulders and the hips don't always line up. When somebody's running or when somebody's making a punch, you want to be able to twist that figure so you get the most like Jack Kirby power into it. And learning how to do that is very, very hard, because it's very easy to, distort the figure, but it's hard to still have it look believable. And I would say that that's one of the hardest things for me. And another thing that's really hard for me that I've had to learn how to do in order to have my own finished books, it's just been digital coloring. Like, to be honest, like I was trained as a painter as a kid, but learning how to color digitally was, something that took a lot of help from people, took a lot of practice, and a lot of my variant covers and stuff. I did the pencils, inks, colors, layout, the graphic design, where like if the logo was distorted, we did one where I think I have a copy here. Yeah, where we had the Tick riding, a motorcycle up into the logo, and I had him destroying the logo, and I had to hand draw this whole thing. Nice. And that's just another element, is the lettering. There's so many different things that go into making a comic that, again, it goes back to versatility and learning. And I was very lucky that a very talented artist named Nate Lovett, who's a good friend of mine, showed me so much when it came to digital coloring. And he was patient and he was nice. And, you know, and he wouldn't beat around the bush. He would say, nope, you need to redo this, you need to do that. You know, and he was very good at that. But that has been a constant, you know, thing for me learning how to do.
And did you tell many folks that they should immediately start pushing towards learning digital coloring?
It's in this day and age, it had become the standard, you know, a number of years ago. And as much as I love doing watercolors and other artists like it, in order to get some jobs doing licensed things, you know, you got to learn the programs because they'll require it. They'll say, we need this in Illustrator, or we need this in Photoshop, because of the whatever the output's going to be, whether they're screen printing T-shirts or, you know, doing embroidery, you know, because they all require different files to come out the way that they're supposed to.
My God, so there's just a lot of many steps and work behind everything.
Yeah, and you know, different jobs have different things. Now, look, I mean, superstar pencilers don't always have to learn all the extra stuff, and you know, maybe when you work your way up, I have no idea if I'll be able to get into a specialized area where I'm only doing one thing. But you know, during times like now, being able to pick up any sort of odd job has been helpful to keeping the lights on.
Excellent. And that's another thing with what's been going on, and as a creator, you know, how you're dealing with the situation with, you know, the 2020 and this version of doing cons now, if you will, this virtual versus, you know, the face-to-face.
Well, I mean, you've been instrumental in like helping me out, and like even just switching the camera around. You guys knew all the tech stuff behind me and helping me with that before even just this one. But it's been really cool. You know, I know it's under not the best circumstances, but you know, the comics community, when it comes together and wants to share their love for the artwork and the characters, it's really cool. And you know, it's not the same, but it's a new thing, and I really like it. And you know, I've been watching, whether it's you guys doing them or, you know, another outlet. I listen to them while I'm working at home. It's really nice to hear your friends talking about comics.
Yeah, absolutely is. And again, you know, you and me, I network in every con that you see me at. You know, and you see me on both East and West Coast.
Yeah.
Although on the West Coast, when I ran into you, which is funny, you know, you're here trying to enjoy the con, and you also got stuck in another situation with work.
That was a bummer. You know, that was a situation where I had to like kind of do an about face, because you know, for me going into a show, like, yeah, you go because you want to meet people and stuff, but you also go to try to make a few bucks. And that was a situation where I had really nice people who wanted to get drawings from me, but I had to, you know, either ask them to get them through the mail, or you know, tell them that I couldn't do it because I had to go back to my room every night and work till, you know, 3-4 in the morning on, you know, revisions to a published project, and then, you know, get up at 6 and get back to the convention and be, you know, at my seat, you know, doing sketches and signing books for people, which, you know, I'm happy to do it. It was just, that was probably the hardest convention I've ever done.
Well, I mean, it is a huge convention. I mean, that one killed me, and I felt my age, if you will. That was a murderous con. It's huge, San Diego. And again, you know, not going on this year with things going on, because I'm looking at your cover. So that's the one where actually we were hanging out in with the 50th anniversary, which was pretty cool, you know?
Yeah.
But this
how is it different for you going around San Diego? Like compared to, like, I don't know, Boston?
Oh man, no, that was footwork. That was really huge crowds, but also, you know, because of the halls, if you will, I had opportunities to walk up to, you know, A-list artists, if you will. You know, for example, there goes Gail Simone, you know, writer, alone at a table, no one near her. I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought it was lines. You know, it's because everybody was waiting at Hall H.
Yeah.
A couple of announcements, I was able to walk up right there and chat, which is pretty awesome, you know. Several other creators was able to just walk up to. I mean, but that one, well, I actually chatted for a few minutes, which was fun. That's why it kind of sticks out of my mind a lot. And obviously running into you, seeing you all stressed. But no, that show is a monster, and I don't think East Coast could do with something like that. New York doesn't even come close to that yet.
I agree. I agree. And that's the one people try to compare it to, but it still isn't. I mean, New York is huge and it has its own set of circumstances with them
Yes.
working on that convention center for so many years.
Oh yeah.
But it's not quite there.
Not yet. It's just the fact that you got to walk to so many places outside of the convention hall. I mean, you do the same thing as San Diego, but it's very close knit and together.
Yes. Yeah. For
And,
sure.
that is coming out gorgeous, bro. Look at these. Look at that, man.
Thank you, sir.
And how long did it take you to build up your craft of inking?
Inking was something that I've fought with most of my, like, especially early on, because I was convinced that you had to do it a certain way. And you know, when you're first trying it out, you're looking at like how to draw comics the Marvel way, and you see, you know, John Buscema with these beautiful brush lines. And it really took, you know, finding my own way to do stuff and being okay with it not looking like everything else. Because that was the struggle, because you see, you know, whether it's Joe Sinnott or Terry Austin or all these amazing inkers that create these beautifully clean drawings. And I had tried to do that, and I just couldn't figure out how they did certain stuff. Like, oh, how do you get that cool texture? Or how do you get that beautiful line around everything? And I started thinking of inking as more of an extension of drawing. And I know that might sound confusing, but as far as defining shapes go and thickness of line and using light sources, I really thought of it as an extension of drawing, and mentally that got me over the hurdle of not trying to make it look like everything else.
Gotcha. There we are. So we're coming almost to a close. You know, we have like 3 minutes left. I've been sharing links, if you noticed, folks, on the bottom. So please visit Ian's site, iancnichols.com. Right? You said you got some books there, variants, especially that hot TMNT one, right?
Yep, I've got variant covers. I've got sketches, prelims. You can commission artwork through there. You know, pretty much most of the books that I have left are up now. You can get books with remarks. I've got a blog that I post in, you know, every now and again on there, and I do streaming drawing videos basically once a week. It's either on Wednesday or Friday nights, and that's through Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can check it out on any of my social medias.
And other social medias are the same, correct? Ian C. Nichols?
Ian C. Nichols or Ian Chase Nichols. It depends on how long they required it to be.
Gotcha. And there you go, folks. And make sure to check out our site over here, ComicCrusaders.com. Latest and greatest in both previews, reviews. We have the best team in the world. There's international for fans, by fans. Also check out our podcast network, UndercoverCapes.com. We have a show for everyone. I mean, if you love comics, you love TV, we have it all. You know, make sure to check this out. A huge shout out to Stay Home Comic Con. Check them out. They've had a huge, awesome program going through the weekend with amazing artists and writers and just creators in general. So, you know, thank you for doing this during this time. We really do appreciate it. And Ian, man, this that's fire, bro. And what are you gonna do with that author on the corner before we go? We got another minute.
The Arthur, he's gonna be looking dismayed and a little nervous, because that's kind of how he lives his life. He's a little nervous all the time. He's the tick is either breaking his couch or, you know, causing him to fall into financial ruin. But in the end, they're best friends and they love each other. And it's if you haven't seen the Amazon TV show, I would recommend it, because it's all about, that's what it's about.
Oh, it is great, man. I'm very sad they're not continuing it. I hope someone could pick it up elsewhere, man.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Doc Strange. So shout out to Doc Strange, to Allison McGlone, to if I'm saying this right, it's Thief5. Sorry if I butchered that. Yo, much love, everybody. Yo, we really do appreciate it. And again, yo, check out the rest of the awesome program at stayhomecomiccon.nl. I mean, they've been doing an awesome job. Thanks for, again, having us. And check out the sites again, iancnichols.com. You know, check out our podcast network, Undercover Capes. You know, check out our website, ComicCrusaders.com. And once again, make sure, check out the rest of the Stay Home Comic Con programming, which is amazing. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, everyone. Much love. De corazón and much peace. Thank you so much again.
They don't have that shit at Walmart. No.